On the road with the Western Ag Network. Brought to you by Ag Risk Advisors.
With this Western Ag Network on the road special report brought to you by Ag Risk Advisors, I'm Lane Nordlund. Well, it's been a busy week for the Western Ag Network crew. As you can see, I am in Washington, D.C., and yes, it is very smoky out here on the East Coast this week, all coming down from those Canadian wildfires and very present here in the nation's capital. But also present are farmers and ranchers standing up for rural America. This week, I was speaking to cattlemen and women that participated in the 2023 Young Cattlemen's Conference, but I also caught up with leaders from the National Potato Council, so we'll hear more about how the policy is shaping up in Washington, D.C. Later on in today's program, we'll also hear how the calf market is shaping up with the first Superior Livestock Sale of the year with their Corn Belt Classic. And also, we'll check in with our network's Russell Nemetz. He's been out on the road as well this week. He's actually standing by from Riverton, Wyoming, where he attended the Wyoming Stockgrowers annual meeting.
Well, thank you, Lane, and that's right. It was a busy week for sure here in Riverton at the Wyoming Cattle Industry Convention and Trade Show. And certainly a lot of important issues talked about impacting Wyoming's beef cattle industry. David Kane out of Sheridan, the Wyoming Stock Growers Association's president, told me, though, at least one of the biggest issues this year being talked about were these higher cattle prices.
It's encouraging. With our input costs rising at a rapid rate, it's kind of nice to see that maybe we're going to have a little help from the cattle markets. It's a bright spot after a tough winter for a lot of the producers in the state, and it's been a long time coming, and we're looking forward to it.
He says one of the big issues this year is traceability and understanding its role from the ranch to the plate.
Traceability is what we're, in the context we're looking at it, is animal health. We're not talking about the government finding out where you put every cow and calf for any other reason than if there's a disease outbreak. That's the only thing that we care about. Otherwise, it's none of their business. But I think burying our head in the sand and thinking it'll never happen is probably not realistic. And so we want to be at the table to make it something that's palatable to the producers of Wyoming.
Jack Berger is the Wyoming Stock Growers' first vice president from Saratoga and says they'd also like to see Endangered Species Act reform so states like Wyoming and Montana would be in charge of managing wildlife like grizzly bears.
Yeah, it shouldn't be so hard to get species off there and stuff. And I mean, we know it's kind of a broken system. It had good intentions, like you said, when it started, but what they're celebrating it this year and what they have a 2% success rate, I think. So I'm not sure that's something to be real proud of, but they have removed a few species, but it'd be nice to get some reform. It seems like we talk about it over and over and over again, but not much happens, but it needs to happen.
With water the lifeline of agriculture, he says they were very pleased by the U.S. Supreme Court's recent decision regarding WOTUS.
Well, that was huge. I don't know if they ever come out with a unanimous decision, and they did on this one, so that must tell you how wrong it was.
Now, before we send it back to Lane Nordlund, who's standing by in our nation's capital, let's hear these important messages from our friends at Ag Risk Advisors.
Ready for a real PRF partner?
He was willing to track us for a year and provide that data back to us for a year. That's a guy making a pretty big investment.
At Ag Risk Advisors, this isn't our first rodeo. We are one of the most experienced in pasture rangeland forage. Honesty, commitment, trust. Many companies use these words. At Ag Risk Advisors, we earn them.
Again, a big thank you to our friends at Ag Risk Advisors for bringing you this special report. As we come back here to Washington, D.C., participants in the 2023 Young Cattlemen's Conference went on a 9-day tour nationwide, learning about every aspect of the cattle and beef industry. Now, a handful of Montana producers participated in this year's event, and they shared their experience being out on the road as well.
So in YCC, one of the coolest things is you get to travel the country with other leaders in the ag industry from every sector, whether it's feeding, packing, to agricultural loans. You really get to learn about each sector of the industry and maybe see things that you don't get to see just staying home in Montana.
It's been a great opportunity to open my eyes to a whole different spectrum of the beef industry that I never really knew outside of the cow-calf / seed stock end of the things. So it's been a great opportunity to see where things go from the feed yards to the packing plants and obviously to the consumer, but also be in touch with what's really going on and what everyone really needs to be informed of, because sometimes you don't really understand what's going on a national level, because you just hear what you know, what you hear at the coffee shop or from friends that call you. So it's been a great opportunity for that.
This has truly been a wonderful, eye-opening experience. We've made 72 other friends from all across the country, including Hawaii all the way to Pennsylvania here. So really wonderful experience. And even though we've literally traveled across the country from Denver to the Midwest to D.C., it feels like I've traveled all across the country by making all these new networks and connections.
Shaylee Harney used the trip as an opportunity to share about the sole purpose of the Montana Beef Council, and that is to promote and educate the public about beef. She said that the trip helps shine a light on the scale and complexity of what it takes to raise beef and deliver it to consumers.
Well, I spend day in and day out with the cattle industry and representing the beef community for the beef checkoff, but this really highlighted every level of and every segment of the beef industry. We started first with the beef checkoff, of course, focusing on our beef promotion, research, and education efforts, and then traveling across the country where we could see more actual feedlots, learn more about that, many that don't work in that day in, day out, and then having the opportunity to go to processing plants to learn more about those and see that firsthand and experience that, which gives us that firsthand knowledge to be able to talk to consumers and walk through any concerns that anyone might have, and as well as with the very end of the line, the food service, where we met with Wendy's and learning more about their operation and how beef is such a big part of their menu.
Jake Fettis attended YCC in 2019 and was chosen by his peers on that trip to be the chairman of the next conference. Well, due to a global pandemic, this is the first year that YCC has taken place in 3 years, and Fettis says it's a great opportunity to help lead fellow cattle producers and industry leaders on the trip and learn more about the industry.
It's also great to be stuck for 8 days with great minds, leaders in the industry, learn about what they're facing, what challenges they're facing, what things are going on in their home states, what things are going on in their sectors. This week we've talked about the cattle markets a lot because they're changing every day. They're getting good again, so we've had in-depth conversations in regards to the leverage of the industry, who has the leverage. The leverage is changing right now. It's going from the packers to the cow-calf guy. So we've had a lot of conversations about that, as well as different issues that are going on. One thing we've been able to really educate people about on this trip is some of the public lands issues that are going on in Montana right now, whether that's the APR or rules that are coming out through Forest Service. And, people from Florida don't hear about that. They don't know about that. Well, now they can go out and get their people involved. So we've got a bigger group to fight some of these challenges and try to make things better in the state of Montana. But also nationally, we're learning about their challenges too, so we can help them with their challenges as well. And then to get the chance to learn how to talk to our congressmen and talk to them about the issues we're facing and try to get them on the same page that we are with us, and so that they can help us fight those challenges.
Dave Hansen said he's walking away from the experience with more respect and knowledge into all that goes into both promoting and advocating for cattle and beef.
You know, definitely I'm a whole lot more informed now. I feel like it's going to give us the opportunity to have a voice, to have our opinion on things, and also to have hopefully the knowledge and to be able to back up what we're talking about and really deliver the message, what NCBA is doing for us, what the beef checkoff does for us, because a lot of times there's pushback from people and they don't really have an excuse why. Now it's very apparent why they're doing what they're doing for us and how important they are to our industry, not only on a national level, but a state level.
Definitely an eye-opening experience for all YCC attendees. Hey, speaking of young producers, our network's Russell Nemetz also caught up with several young farmer and rancher committee members that are part of the Montana Farm Bureau during their summer conference in Bozeman, Montana earlier this week.
Well, that's right, Lane. Without question, it has been an extremely busy time this past week on the agricultural calendar. Of course, last week, the Montana Farm Bureau's summer conference in Bozeman actually kicked off with YF&R Day, a wonderful opportunity and experience for some of Montana's younger ag producers to experience and see firsthand some of those opportunities out there that exist outside of traditional farming and ranching.
For me, it's been cool, right? You kind of jump in with both feet. I didn't even know it was a thing when I got into Farm Bureau. It was through insurance, probably like most people. Attended a few meetings, got voluntold I was on the committee, and I mean, now I'm here and I'm enjoying the heck out of it. One, you get to talk to like-minded people like yourself that are dealing with the same exact things you are, and maybe not the intimidation factor that some people see when you walk into a producer meeting and people are 55, 60, been doing it their whole lives, you know. And a lot of people in our deal, it's first-generation farmers, first-generation ranchers, and just the ability to network with some other people like-minded that are interested in the same things or maybe the same struggles has been amazing.
Now, the tour showed participants some of the opportunities that exist in agriculture outside of traditional farming and ranching.
Yeah, so there are a lot of opportunities within Montana, maybe for people that can't afford to go out and buy a big piece of property to have their own operation. You can still certainly get involved. We went to the Montana Equine Center, and you can, if you really like horses, you can help horses get better from illnesses or injuries that they might have. Now we're at Montana Reclaimed Lumber Yard, and it is so cool to see all the processes from our old corral boards that get all grayed and weathered, and then the beautiful things that they can be turned into, and how many careers that offers along that road.
And participants of the YF&R program say they're very thankful that Farm Bureau embraces young people.
Yes, you get stuck in the mindset, you know, it's always a struggle, and then you get out for a 3-day tour like we're doing now, and you kind of get to see the optimism of other people that are doing things. Yeah, being able to network, having the group that you can just talk to, text, whatever. I mean, it's been a huge confidence booster in some of the low times in agriculture, but it's looking to be a pretty good year.
And of course, if you're a young producer or young ag couple who wants to learn more about the Montana Farm Bureau's YF&R program, you can visit them online at mfbf.org. Well, whether it's here in Riverton at the Wyoming Cattle Industry Convention, or this coming week in Havre at the Montana Stock Growers Mid-Year Meeting, or next week in Steamboat Springs at the Colorado Cattlemen's Association's annual convention, the talk of the town are these higher cattle markets. And this past week, we got the first real glimpse of what the 2023 calf crop is going to look like as Superior Livestock Auction kicked off their summer video sales season with their Corn Belt Classic in South Sioux City, Nebraska.
This morning, as we got kicked off, just with some Nebraska calves and some Western Northern Colorado calves, it was one of those days. We've been coming into it wondering what they was really going to be worth and how it was going to be. A straight 5-weight coming in October, that October-November delivery. A lot of those cattle coming in September, a little bit earlier, but a 5-weight, would bring 308 to 325 pretty rapid, pretty easy, and that's right off the cow, just a good steer calf. We see them heifers on those being maybe a little further behind than what we normally do. Seen a lot of them $25 to $28 100 behind them. We kick off into Montana, and we're in the heart of Lewistown. We just finished up in that section. You go to a highlight there. You're looking at a weaned 775-pound calf, coming at the end of December or the first part of December delivery, 1st to the 20th delivery on a 775 wean. Them calves are gap. They are NHTC. They're natural. They're on all the programs you can put them on, weighing 775. We see them bring 276.75. So just a phenomenal price when we're talking about dollars per head. We're looking at just a commodity calf coming right off the cow, weighing 7. We're seeing them bring 260 just all the way through from 258, 265, 66. And the probably the thing that sticks out to me the most is the demand. I mean, these buyers, we're starting these cattle at 250. They're coming right to us, so they're wanting to get some inventory and wanting to get some cattle for that time of year. And so that's probably the thing that sticks out the most.
And without question, this red hot cattle market, including these calf prices, are certainly long overdue for cattle producers here in Western Ag Network country. Well, that's going to do it from here in Riverton at the Wyoming Cattle Industries Convention and Trade Show. With that, we'll go ahead and send it back to Lane.
Hey, thank you so much, Russell. And yes, it's very exciting to hear the calf market updates from that first Superior Livestock sale. Let's cross our finger those prices stay strong throughout this year. And safe travels as you head back home. Well, this week, leaders of the National Potato Council were out here in Washington, D.C., working on behalf of the U.S. potato industry. They addressed issues impacting every aspect of the trade, from Farm Bill priorities, research, trade opportunities, and even celebrating the recent Supreme Court decision in the Sackett v. EPA case.
Yeah, Lane, we're really happy. It's just been about a week that we got past this whole debt limit mess, and now we can get back to regular business. We're only about 3 months away from the fiscal year ending and a new one beginning, so we've got to fund the federal government. How are you going to do that? How are you going to make sure important priorities like research funding for the potato industry is embedded in the Ag Appropriations Bill? We're going to make sure that we've got a new Farm Bill. Farm Bill expires at the end of September. Are we going to have a new Farm Bill in its place? Do we have to extend the current bill while we're constructing a new one? I think that's consuming, getting a new Farm Bill, a new reauthorized Farm Bill is consuming a tremendous amount of time here in D.C. We really want to get that right. We feel like we've got a pretty good opportunity to do it now.
As for how things are going for potato producers out in the countryside this spring,
we in Idaho, and I think everywhere else, we kind of got off to a pretty slow start because we had a late cold spring. So we were a little bit worried that we were going to be behind a few weeks, but we were able to get the crops in the ground. They went into warm soil, sprouting immediately. It appears that we're just about right on track. So we got a good planting season. We're just hoping for a decent warm summer. We're appreciative of the moisture we received this winter. That was a worry last fall, that we were going to be short of water, which is always a worry. We had an abundance of water, so we feel really blessed that way.
creating and maintaining new trade relationships across the globe is also a top priority for the National Potato Council. This week, USDA hosted a trade mission to Japan. Increasing U.S. potato exports to the island nation was a top priority for the trade delegation.
I can give you a dollar figure about how important it is. It's $150 million a year worth of importance for U.S. potato farms. We think the opportunity is tremendous there. The ability to have fresh access, to serve their grocery stores, their restaurants, provide high quality U.S. potatoes, it is well worth all of the time that's going to be consumed in opening that market. You're exactly right. USDA's Undersecretary for Trade, Alexis Taylor, is over there, also with some members of the potato industry this week. They're touring around Japan. They're carrying the message of the importance of them opening their market. We understand it's going to be a tough fight. They've got a very entrenched domestic industry there, but we really think it's worth the battle for family farms in the U.S.
With the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in Sackett v. EPA reversing a lower court's ruling, holding that the Clean Water Act extends only to wetlands that have a continuous surface connection with waters of the U.S., the National Potato Council says it's a great win for U.S. farmers, ranchers, and landowners.
We applaud the decision. Government overreach is just horrible policy for family farms like ours, like yours. It's just bad policy. So we're thrilled about it.
It's a huge win for our industry. It's a huge win for agriculture overall, and also, perhaps most importantly, I think it's a win for common sense and also unanimous common sense. What I thought was really remarkable about that decision, it wasn't a partisan vote. It wasn't a 5-4 decision. It was a 9-0 vote. That the way the WOTUS rule was constructed was just flat out an overreach, and they needed to return back to common sense policymaking. I think that bodes well for other issues, hopefully on the horizon, like getting some guardrails around policy that's coming out of Washington D.C. that can be implemented in a constructive way, not in a restrictive way where we're harming opportunities for this great capitalist economy in the U.S., this fantastic agriculture industry to be able to generate benefits for our country. Why hobble it for little to no value coming back to the country? It makes no sense. I think in this case, maybe a glimmer of hope and optimism amongst all the thorny issues we have to deal with.
Coming up June 27th through the 29th, the National Potato Council will host their 2023 summer meeting at Lake Tahoe.
It's going to be a great week there. We're excited for it. The weather looks good. The registration's good. We invite you to get on nationalpotato.org. Sign up for the summer meeting. Rooms are going fast at the Hyatt Regency Resort in Tahoe. We're looking forward to it.
If folks are thinking about being there, please go to nationalpotatocouncil.org, sign up for the summer meeting because the hotel rooms are going fast. We're going to have a great time, a lot of fun, a lot of good discussions about all the business that makes this great industry work. So we're really excited.
Again, a lot of activities as Western Ag Network was out on the road here this week. Thanks for joining us for this special Western Ag Network report. Just a reminder, Ag Risk Advisors provides risk management solutions for farmers and ranchers. Learn more about their livestock risk protection opportunities by visiting agriskadvisors.com. For Russell Nemetz and the entire Western Ag Network crew, I'm Lane Nordlund reporting in Washington, D.C.
On the road with the Western Ag Network. Brought to you by Ag Risk Advisors.